제 전부들은 힘이 정도는 뭐는 전부가 되다 알고리즘 전도 실물도 또 나도 제잖아 기존 사람의 저러 증이 정근서 저거 특기选了 연락만 이제 본조장로 소란 공개 도반 보러 신지로
The supreme, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter in a billion eons. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and kept it. I vow to attain the true meaning of the Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, let us generate the supreme bodhicitta. Journey to the West. Recently, I noticed many people showed great interest in this book. I think there must be some auspicious connections and auspicious dependent arising within this interest, because many teachings given by Ponso Rinpoche that's included in this book is really important. That is why Khenpo Sochon Lodro and I requested Toku to grant empowerments so that you can receive these Dharma teachings. It will be more convenient for you to receive it. Those of you who received the empowerment, it would be more easy for you to receive the later part of the teachings, or for you to practice them. It grants you some permissions to practice those teachings. So I think you should be quite contented with what you've received. Today we'll talk about after we arrived in Hawaii. The picture that's included in this book is a beautiful picture showing Hawaii in the ocean. It shows a beautiful picture of from the ocean side. After taking the airplane for 7 hours, finally we arrived in Hawaii, and it flew all the way from Tokyo. This chapter is called A Tsampa Incident. Hawaii is a very beautiful, enchanting archipelago. It's a vacation destination for many famous people, actors, actresses, even politicians, entrepreneurs. Obama, for example, the previous United States president, he also has a house over there and often would take vacation there. Even now, people would consider Hawaii to be a paradise. Indeed, when I first arrived there, I really felt it was very beautiful. Before I arrived there, I heard about the sandalwood forests. Usually, sandalwood can be found in India, in the southern part of India, but Hawaii also has sandalwood. On top of that, there's the beautiful coral reefs and silver beaches, as well as the Azure Ocean. And you can feel the gentle ocean breeze. It really nourishes people's spirit. It's quite a beautiful destination, especially when you look at the map. Nowadays, you can see the maps in different languages, and you can find a world map on internet. You can even translate whatever is writing on the map with apps and software. But back then, we couldn't find those information. Not only that we have internet on land, we can have Wi-Fi on international flights as well. Back then, we had to carry a very large atlas, large maps everywhere whenever we travel everywhere. Probably young people would feel that it's impossible. Why would you travel with a large book with maps? But back then, that's how we traveled. From the atlas, you would be able to see that Hawaii being very tiny on the world map, and it just looks like a little insect insect that's been dropped in the vast ocean. I made a little note on Hawaii on this large map. You can only see this white, gray, tiny mark on the map, and it really makes people feel very lonesome and fearsome. After flying for a few hours from Japan, you can arrive at this destination that is right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It really feels very different because it flies for about 7 hours from Japan, and then if you want to fly to San Francisco, it takes about 5 to 6 hours again. So you really feel that you've been flying over oceans all this time. Also, I had the similar feeling when I flew to New Zealand and Australia. For people like me who never really see much ocean since our childhood, we only saw some small lakes. So at the time of being at the shore of ocean, there's this fearsome feeling that naturally arises. After arriving in Hawaii, at the border, at the customs, the police dog sniffed our tampa because tampa looks like a white powdery. It is a white powdery substance. When we went to India, we had a whole bag of tampa, and it was really big bag as well. But when we went to United States, went to Hawaii, when the customs officers saw our whole bag of white powder, they felt that it must be drugs, it must be the narcotics, and then we must be the cartels. So they called a group of police. After trying to explain for a very long period of time, they didn't want to believe. So I had to eat a handful of tampa to show that it was just food. And then they finally believed us. A very tall officer then told us that in order to protect the safety and health of the community, it is not allowed to bring any of the external food into United States. So it is better for you not to bring them. That is why we were stopped at the borders. We didn't bring the little puppy that Phuntsog Rinpoche had back then, and especially considering it takes hours and hours of flights, and we didn't bring too much of the tampa and so on. Those were just part of the memory from then. There was nothing so important. It was just a record of what I remembered. Because of the delay, we missed the flight from Honolulu to Hilo. In fact, Hawaii is a chain of islands. It's so we had to travel from one island to another. It is made of 4 large islands. Hawaii is an archipelago that's made of a chain of 4 large islands and a group of small islands. So we had to travel, we had to take the next flight from Honolulu to Hilo. The flight, the tickets that we purchased then were wasted, and the tickets, we couldn't use those tickets anymore. We had to repurchase the ticket. And then on top of that, we had to run from one stop to another. That is why, in between, if we were to encounter any issues, it would take us a long time to catch up with the next flight. Phuntsog Rinpoche, since he waited since he already stayed, since he already took a very long time of flight and then waited over there for a period of time, it was rather quite tiresome for Phuntsog Rinpoche. On top of that, there is an 18 hours of time difference. That's from my memory. I think it's 18 hours. And in terms of New York and some cities in Canada only has about 12 hours of time difference with us. Pansokul Rinpoche back then didn't take the time to adjust his jet lag, but he did appear to be tired. We waited for more hours. And then took the flight from Honolulu to Hilo in the afternoon. It was only about, I think, it only took about less than an hour, maybe 40 minutes or so from Honolulu to Hilo. And then at the time we arrived there, it was already at dawn time, but the sun has not set yet. The temple that we traveled to was called Nechon Monastery. It was not too far from the airport. It was first built, the structure was first built back in the 70s. I think it was by a Japanese Buddhist center. And then after the Second World War, the center was bought by a Tibetan Buddhist master and then became a Gelugpa center. So we specifically traveled to there. It took us a very long period of time to travel back and forth. And then after we finally settled down, Pansokul Rinpoche said that could we make a phone call to Serta, to the Buddhist Academy, to tell them that we have already arrived in America, especially to tell my friend from Kardose, from Konding, and tell him that we have arrived. Back then there is no internet and no WeChat, none of those social media. It was very difficult to even make international phone calls. Even in the United States, it was not that we can make international phone calls everywhere. And I think our international code was 0086. I couldn't really find it anyway, so I had to ask the abbot. The abbot Lama's name is called Losang Denden, and he was a great practitioner. I later really wanted to meet him again, and him to me too. Back in 2016, he said that there was another monastic who's taking care of the monastery, so he then departed from Hawaii and went back to India, and not long after that he passed away. In fact, he also kept the shoes that Pansokul Rinpoche changed in Hawaii, and that's been kept till now. He has a great faith towards Pansokul Rinpoche and to Padmasambhava. He was a great Lama with devotion. He said that he had then cell phone, which is a brick phone. It's a black brick phone, and he said that you can use this to call. So I called and couldn't. I wasn't sure if I was able to get through, because back then Khenpo Tsotrong Lodro and a few of the supervisors in Larongar had the phones, the landlines, but it was difficult to get through. So we had to call the friend of Pansokul Rinpoche, and hoping that he could then tell the people in Larongar, saying that we have arrived in United States. It was our evening. I think it was the afternoon of China. It felt that the friend of Pansokul Rinpoche was drunk. And then he said that after you had left on the 16th, the superiors then made the announcement saying that you cannot go abroad. But I said that you have already arrived. Khenpo Namdro at the time was sitting at the gate, and I was giving him phone calls on the outside. There was a little spring on the outside of the monastery. It was very comfortable. So over there, Khenpo Namdro was sitting at the gate, and then he kept on saying that, well, stop calling because it's very costly to make long distance phone calls. So he kept on saying that you shouldn't be calling and hang up, which was true. It was very expensive to call back then. On the second morning, Phuntsog Rinpoche also wanted to make a phone call. Phuntsog Rinpoche took his time to talk, but at that time, though Phuntsog Rinpoche took a longer period of time to talk, but Khenpo Namdro didn't dare to remind Phuntsog Rinpoche, saying that it's expensive and so on and so forth. I was thinking to myself that you were so mean to me last night, and let's see if you dare to say the same to Phuntsog Rinpoche. But he dared not to say anything or speak anything to Phuntsog Rinpoche at all. I can still remember that very clearly. On the very day, Phuntsog Rinpoche's main English translator, whose name is Sanjay Khandro, she is still alive. She's 70 years old, and she's an American. Her Tibetan is excellent. She followed and served many great masters such as Penna Rinpoche, Dudjom Rinpoche, 16th Karmapa, Yangtang Rinpoche, and lots of great masters, including when Khenpo Namdro travels abroad to United States, France, and so on. She would serve them to give teachings, and she could communicate clearly in Tibetan language. She flew all the way from California and arrived to meet Phuntsog Rinpoche. So now the translators arrived, and Phuntsog Rinpoche's Dharma teaching is about to begin. And tomorrow we will begin on the first Dharma teaching given by Phuntsog Rinpoche.
Zhibum Tsulen Zhuwa Zhu Ru Xiu